Welcome back, everyone.
Yeah.
Ever been to a World's Fair?
Oh, yeah, there's something else.
You get it, that energy, right?
Absolutely.
People everywhere, all excited about the future.
Yeah, like a glimpse of what's possible,
Exactly. So picture this. It's 1901, Buffalo, New York.
Buffalo.
Yeah, they're hosting this huge Pan-American exposition.
A big deal back then.
Huge.
Yeah.
And right in the middle of it all, President William McKinley.
The president himself.
Yep, a symbol of America's optimism, all that promise. Right.
But something dark is about to happen.
Yeah, a shadow lurking amidst all that progress.
A young man, dangerous ideas, and a hidden pistol.
And that's what we're diving into today, the assassination of William McKinley.
It's wild how this one event changed everything,
It really does capture a turning point in American history.
Totally. You've got all this technological advancement happening.
And at the same time, this simmering social unrest.
A real clash of forces. And the Pan-American Exposition, it was meant to showcase America's power, right?
Yeah, like a declaration to the world, look at us.
But it was more than just inventions on display, though, wasn't it?
Right, it was a carefully crafted spectacle.
Exactly. Meant to project a certain image. So to really understand the story, we need to go back to Buffalo in 1901.
Paint the picture for us.
Okay, so imagine Buffalo, a bustling metropolis.
I mean, it's not exactly New York City, is it?
No, but still, 8th largest city in the U.S.
Really? I didn't realize it was that big back then.
Oh yeah, a hub of industry and innovation.
So prime location for a World's Fair.
Absolutely. Accessible by train for millions of people. And they called it, are you ready for this?
Hit me with it.
The Rainbow City.
The Rainbow City. Okay, that's pretty cool.
Think about it. A city bathed in electric light, all these vibrant colors.
Yeah, electricity was still pretty new back then, wasn't it?
Revolutionary. And the colors weren't just for show. They symbolized progress, you see.
Ah, I see. Like a narrative they were building.
Leading up to the Grand Electric Tower.
I've seen pictures. That thing was massive.
Dominating the skyline. Imagine seeing that for the first time, along with X-ray machines. Incubators for babies.
Yeah.
Things we take for granted today.
It must have been mind-blowing for people back then.
A true glimpse into the future. And leading this nation marching into the 20th century.
Was President McKinley.
The very picture of optimism, prosperity.
A pillow guy, right.
Hugely. Just won a second term.
With a pretty interesting VP, too.
Theodore Roosevelt.
Now there's a name everyone knows.
Energetic, ambitious.
With
Some
that?
even said dangerous.
Yeah, a force to be reckoned with. But back to McKinley, his popularity wasn't just about good economic times.
Right, he had a certain way about him,
Like a man of the people.
Exactly. Approachable, genuine.
And tragically, that would be his downfall.
Because while he was shaking hands, connecting with everyday Americans.
A 28-year-old factory worker named Leon Czolgosz was watching.
Czolgosz. There's a name that sends chills down your spine.
And he wasn't just some random disgruntled guy.
No, he was a self-proclaimed anarchist.
Anarchist.
Mm.
That word gets thrown around a lot.
It does, and it meant different things to different people back then.
So what did it mean to Czolgosz?
He was deeply troubled by the inequalities of the Gilded Age, all the social and economic injustice.
The gap between the rich and the poor.
Exactly.
What?
And he subscribed to a particularly extreme ideology.
Which was?
Propaganda of the deed. They believed violence was the only way to bring about change.
So like a revolution through assassination.
You could say that. Czolgosz saw himself as striking a blow against the system.
By killing the president.
He thought it would spark an uprising.
And he planned this meticulously, didn't he?
Oh, yeah. He studied McKinley's movements, attended his speeches.
Almost like he was stalking him.
Eerie, isn't it? He even traveled to Niagara Falls when McKinley visited.
Wow. Waiting for the right moment.
And here's a chilling detail. Czolgosz bought the same type of gun used to assassinate King Umberto I of Italy.
The year before.
The year before, like he was following a playbook.
That's unsettling. But wasn't Czolgosz kind of an outcast, even among anarchists?
That's right. Many anarchists actually rejected him.
Really?
They thought he was unstable, too radical.
So he was acting alone.
Pretty much. A lone wolf, driven by his own twisted ideology.
And so the stage was set for tragedy. The Temple of Music, a hot September day.
McKinley, eager to greet the public.
Despite security concerns.
It was a different time. No metal detectors, no massive security
The
details.
Secret Service was still pretty new, wasn't it?
Brand new. And protecting a president in a crowded space like that, nearly impossible.
It's hard to imagine today a president just out there shaking hands with hundreds of people.
Right, no real barriers, and that's exactly what Czolgosz exploited.
He blended right in.
Hidden gun, handkerchief, or everyone was using handkerchiefs in that heat.
A perfect disguise.
And then chaos. 2 shots ring out.
One hits McKinley in the abdomen.
Panic, confusion. The exposition transformed in an instant.
And meanwhile, miles away in the Adirondacks.
Theodore Roosevelt, completely oblivious. It's crazy to think about all the chaos.
I mean, the president's been shot.
Exactly. And everyone's trying to figure out what to do.
Every second counts in a situation like that.
Absolutely. And the decisions they made in those first few moments,
They had huge implications.
not just for McKinley's health,
Yeah.
but for the whole country.
So walk us through it. What happened right after the shooting?
Okay, so first things first, they had to get McKinley medical attention.
Makes sense. But where?
That's where it gets interesting. They had 2 choices. Buffalo General,
A real hospital.
yeah, a modern hospital across town, or
Or,
the Exposition's infirmary,
hold on, the infirmary. Like a first aid station.
basically. And guess which one they chose?
No way. They went with the infirmary.
They did. It's hard to believe now, but back then,
Their medical knowledge was limited.
that's putting it mildly. They thought moving McKinley to Buffalo General,
Too risky.
too much jostling, too many delays, could be fatal, they thought.
Wow. So they opted for immediate treatment.
Even if it meant using a facility that wasn't really equipped for this.
It really shows you how far we've come in terms of emergency medicine.
Right. A president being treated in what was basically a first aid station.
Mind-boggling. So while all this is happening,
News of the shooting starts to spread.
like wildfire, I imagine,
And eventually, it reaches Theodore Roosevelt,
who's miles away, remember, up in the Adirondacks.
enjoying his mountain retreat. Can you imagine getting news like that?
Talk about a mood killer.
He immediately drops everything and starts racing back to Buffalo.
But how? He's in the middle of nowhere.
Horse-drawn carriage, through the mountains, in the pouring rain.
No paved roads back then, right?
Nope. And he's urging his driver to go faster, faster.
This guy was intense.
There are stories of him hanging out of the carriage with a lantern,
Seriously.
shouting, "I'm not afraid if you're not afraid. Go faster."
It's like something out of an action movie.
Right. And get this, he covered a distance that normally took 7 hours.
In how long?
Under 5. A record that still stands today.
Wow. But it's not just about the speed. It's also about the lack of information.
Good point. Today, Roosevelt would have been getting constant updates on McKinley's condition.
But back then,
He's a traveling blind, no idea how serious it was, what his role would be.
must have been incredibly stressful.
He finally reaches the train station, exhausted but ready to take charge.
And that's when he finds out McKinley is dead.
The man who set out on a relaxing vacation.
Is now the President of the United States.
Talk about a twist of fate. And this is where the story takes on a whole new dimension.
Because McKinley's death, it propelled Roosevelt onto the world stage.
At a crucial moment in history, America was becoming a global power.
And Roosevelt was the man to lead them into that new era.
Exactly. It makes you wonder, what if McKinley had lived?
Would history have unfolded differently?
Would Roosevelt have ever become president?
We'll never know for sure.
But it's a fascinating thought experiment, and it shows how one seemingly isolated event,
Can have ripple effects that change the course of everything.
McKinley's assassination, it did more than just change presidents.
It exposed a huge flaw in the system.
Security.
I mean, we talked about how lax it was,
And McKinley's death forced them to rethink everything.
leading to the modern Secret Service.
Right. Tragic that it took something like this to happen.
But it's a reminder that we have to learn from the past.
Adapt to new threats. Security is an ongoing process.
Now, we can't talk about this without addressing Leon Czolgosz.
The assassin.
What happened to him?
He was caught, obviously.
Yeah.
Swift trial, execution.
Wow. They didn't waste any time.
Justice moved quickly back then, especially in a case like this.
Public outrage, I imagine.
Absolutely. People wanted retribution. But Czolgosz's story, it's more complicated than that.
What do you mean?
We have to consider his mental state, the roots of his extremism.
The whole nature versus nurture debate.
Exactly. And these are questions we're still grappling with today.
Trying to understand the motivations behind violence, terrorism.
It's never simple. And then there's Buffalo itself.
They put so much into that exposition.
hoping to showcase their city to the world.
And instead,
It became synonymous with this tragedy.
a dark stain on their history.
But Buffalo's story isn't one of defeat, though, is it?
No, they bounce back.
Kept growing, kept evolving, a testament to resilience.
So we've covered a lot here. The immediate aftermath,
Medical decisions, the political upheaval.
the impact on security, even the ethical questions about the assassin's fate,
It's amazing how much this one event reveals about the past.
and how connected it is to the present. Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?
What's that?
How all these seemingly separate things, these choices people made,
Yeah.
they all came together at this one moment.
Yeah, it's like history's a puzzle, and sometimes...
All the pieces just click into place.
Exactly. You've got McKinley's desire to be close to the people, the security limitations of the time,
Shogo's own twisted beliefs.
even the layout of the Temple of Music itself. It all mattered.
And then you've got Roosevelt, off in the mountains, completely unaware that his life's about to change forever.
Talk about being in the right place at the right time.
Or the wrong place, depending on how you look at it. I mean, some might say it was all just luck.
It's fate, destiny.
But Roosevelt was a shrewd politician, ambitious.
Oh, absolutely. He knew how to seize an opportunity.
So maybe it wasn't all just chance.
Well, we can debate that all day. But regardless, he became president at a pivotal time.
A time when America was stepping onto the world stage.
And Roosevelt was ready to lead them there. It makes you wonder, what if McKinley had been more cautious?
What if Roosevelt had stayed home that day?
Would America be the same country it is today?
It's impossible to say.
Yeah.
But these what ifs, they really make you think.
They do, but at the end of the day, we can't change the past.
All we can do is learn from it.
Exactly. And McKinley's assassination, it was a wake-up call for America.
In more ways than one. It ushered in a new era of global power.
A more assertive presidency. And, of course,
A complete overhaul of security protocols.
it's a stark reminder that even when things seem good, there are always dangers lurking.
Threats we might not even see coming.
But it's also a testament to resilience, isn't it?
How so?
Well, look at Buffalo. They suffered this horrible tragedy.
Their moment in the spotlight, overshadowed by violence.
But they didn't give up. They rebuilt, they moved forward.
The Pan American Exposition, it was meant to be a celebration of progress.
And in a way, it still is. It reminds us that even in the face of darkness.
The human spirit can endure.
Exactly. So we've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, haven't we?
We have. From the grandeur of the exposition,
To the tragedy of the assassination.
the political fallout, the changes in security.
Even the ethical dilemmas surrounding Szolgos's fate.
It's a story with so many layers.
And one that still resonates today. But why should our listeners care about something that happened over 100 years ago?
That's a fair question. What do you think are the key takeaways here?
Well, first, I think it reminds us that history is more than just dates and names.
It's about people making choices.
Choices that have real consequences.
And it's important to understand those choices even if we don't agree with them.
Like in Szolgos's case, we can condemn his actions.
But we can also try to understand what led him down that path.
Right. It's about critical thinking, seeing things from different perspectives.
And I think it also highlights the power of leadership.
Absolutely. McKinley, Roosevelt, they both shaped America's destiny.
In very different ways. Their decisions had a lasting impact.
And that brings us to the present.
What can we learn from all this?
I think it's a call to action in a way. What seemingly small events happening today.
Might one day be seen as turning points in history.
It's something to think about, isn't it, as we navigate our own complex times?
So there you have it, folks, our deep dives into the assassination of William McKinley.
A story of ambition, tragedy, and the enduring power of the human spirit.
We hope you found it insightful.
And that it sparked some new thoughts, some new questions.
And until next time,
Keep exploring, keep questioning.
and keep the spirit of curiosity alive.